This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
This podcast is sponsored by AMG Logistics and in association with the Birmingham City Official Supporters Clubs. I'm your host, Craig Courtney, and we're looking forward to the next Blues game and finding out what our opposition fans think. Sit tight and enjoy the next edition of The Away End. Good evening, and oh boy, how time flies when you're having fun. And as a Birmingham City fan, definitely having fun at the moment. So you join us for week 3 of the away end. And after what I can honestly say was an emphatic 2-1 win at Ewood Park at the weekend, we saw Birmingham breaking the duck of not winning in the league at Ewood Park since 2013. As you can imagine, we're just coming down. However, we go on to the next game, Saturday, coming thick and fast against Gary Rowett's Oxford United. The U's come to St Andrews at Knighthead Park off the back of 2 league losses. However, a League Cup win. So, mixed emotions, fair to say. But yet again, another full house at St Andrews on Saturday. No doubt building a really raucous and loud atmosphere and hoping to push Blues on to yet another league victory. We're joined this evening by Jack Schumark from the Manor Podcast. So, Jack, first of all, thank you very much for joining us. And it's the first time that we've spoken and a long time since we've met each other. So thank you very much, first of all, for joining.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. You sound a lot more upbeat in your intro than many Oxford fans are feeling at the moment, but it's a long season, isn't it? So the only way is up.
It is indeed, and let's not forget, we're getting excited, but we're only 2 games in.
Exactly.
You know? So still plenty more to come. But actually, you know, the record between Birmingham and Oxford, I thought there was going to be more games between us, but over the years, we've actually only played 27 games. So it's far from a huge amount, especially as Birmingham are now celebrating their 150th year in existence. Close as well in regards to the results. It's Birmingham winning 10. There's 8 for Oxford, 9 draws during that period of time. And in the last 5, 2 wins, 2 draws. 2 wins, 2 losses and a draw. So we're actually, again, very much on par. And wow, yeah, the last time we played, 2016 League Cup clash at St Andrews at Knighthead Park, where Oxford 1-0 victorious on the evening. So it's been very close between us over the years. But also, I think the Rowett factor has to come into the equation, which no doubt we will come on to shortly. But Jack, tell us first of all a little bit about the Manor Podcast and how long you've been going, and also after that, what we can expect from the U's on the game on Saturday.
Yeah, so I'm from the Manor Podcast, Stephen. We've been going, I think we worked out we're into our 6th season now. So originally we were and still are mainly a collective of exiled Oxford fans. Most of us were based in Yorkshire at one stage, so we used to be known as Manor Podcast. Bit of a reference to our old, much-loved home, the Manor Ground, which many listeners may remember. And yeah, we pod semi-regularly now. Kind of life gets in the way a little bit, but every couple of weeks or so. And to be fair, the last couple of seasons have been pretty positive. We've had a lot of good memories to reflect on. Some big matches to get excited about, and generally we just treat it as if we're down the pub chatting football, and we're just appreciative that anyone who listens. So yeah, we're on X and Spotify and all those kind of places at them on a podcast. So yeah, that's us.
And it's interesting. So you get 6th season, Tilton Talk now into our 15th. So hopefully you can continue that run, because we do see it building week in, week out, and, you know, worldwide audience, which is forever expanding. So It is great fun. And like you say, actually, we treat it very much the same. We're a group of fans doing it for the fans, with
Exactly.
fans listening. And we don't hold back if things have been poor. And we love to celebrate when things have been great. And I think that's the best part of the podcasting side of things, and shows as well the true aspect of us as fans. So we're going into the game on Saturday. I'm not going to dwell too much on your past couple of results, because I think the first game of the season, you can never predict what's going to happen. Obviously, I think a disappointing result for you the weekend just gone. But tell us a little bit of what we can expect from the Gary Rowett Oxford side, and what are, at present, your strengths, and where are your weaknesses?
So I think obviously Rowett came in at Christmas when we were in a bit of a pickle. So our former manager Des Buckingham, who was an Oxford fan, Oxford hero, had all the kind of film script story about him. Got promoted from League One, which no one expected when he came into the club, but it had gone wrong. It's that classic. It was very broken off the pitch. There needed to be a change. I think a lot of that's now said in hindsight, but at the time, a lot of people wondered if it was a big risk of bringing Rowett in. Ultimately, it was going to be judged by if we stayed up last season.
Yeah,
we did. And then we've had kind of a bit of a funny summer. You may have seen the pictures of Gary Rowett being paraded around on a soft toy lion.
I did. It was hilarious to see, and I've got to say, when it came out, I was like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" Is this? It was almost like a scene from a film. But I believe it was to do with your pre-season tour, of which I think results were, albeit against, probably fair to say, very lower kind of caliber players, but your pre-season tour was pretty decent. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so we're owned by a man called Eric Thohir, who it's quite the list of clubs. So he used to be the owner of Inter Milan. He used to be the owner of DC United. Basically built them a new stadium in Washington, and he's very rich. And for some reason that I don't think a lot of Oxford fans can still quite find, he's decided to take what was a middling League One football club 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years ago now, and start putting a bit of money in, not too much, but improving things off the field in particular. Promotion to the Championship came along, and with that is, as he's kind of said, and the fellow ownership group has said, a chance to really promote brand Oxford in the Far East. Obviously, when you talk to people about Oxford, they think of the university. They probably don't think of the football club, in all honesty.
Well, boat race always comes to mind, doesn't it?
And
Oxford,
exactly.
Like, oh yeah, Oxford, Cambridge, that's it, boat race.
Yeah, but actually, if you talk to the football fans about the boat race, no one could give a stuff. So, so part A, I suppose, of Brand Oxford was a pre-season tour this summer. Depending who you talk to, varying outcomes. I think we're seeing that the football side of it hasn't given us the greatest kind of position to start the season, but I think commercially it will have done the club very well. Bit of exposure, social media, all the modern day things that you kind of need. But yeah, linking back to Rowett, I think he has shown his frustration perhaps at how the tour worked in terms of playing 3 games so early in pre-season rather than being able to focus on fitness. I think it probably has set us back in terms of readiness for the season. We're at Hull on Sunday, and it's clear that our approach away from home is going to be to try and stay in games. When it went 2-2 on Sunday, I don't think we looked like we were ever going to try and win the game. And that's been a bit of a pattern under Rowett. I think we are, some Oxford fans won't like me saying this, but we are ultimately a very small fish in this league, particularly when it comes to budget. So we have to try and make ourselves hard to beat. Yep. We have to try and stay in games. And if that means being a bit defensive or a bit, I suppose the phrase is anti-football, perhaps, that's what we've got to do. We've got to be realistic about who we are at this level. We don't have the ability to spend lots of money. We smashed our transfer budget this summer for a mighty £2.5 million. So it's a completely different level to some clubs in the division. Even those, obviously yourselves, everyone knows about the ownership, but Derby this summer has spent 10, 15 million. Charlton has spent pushing on to 10 million. So even those clubs who've been with us in League One for a long time have started spending, and we're not really in that space. There's been positive news in recent weeks. We've had planning permission for a new stadium granted. That will be a game changer for the football club to finally own our own stadium, take the revenues from it,
Indeed.
not have to pay £1 million a year just to play football. So yeah, it's a funny time as an Oxford fan because we stayed up last year, kind of smashed everyone's predictions of us finishing bottom and being down by Christmas and all that kind of thing. And although it went to the second last day of the season, actually we were fairly comfortable in staying up. And the hope for this year was to kind of kick on a little bit. It doesn't feel we've quite kicked on in recruitment terms yet. Obviously, there's we're talking 10, 11 days of the window left.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a tricky start, I think it's fair to say. And we're not going to come and try and play teams off the park because we haven't got the ability to do that. So we'll come. I think Saturday will come and attempt to be hard to beat, but you never know what's going to happen.
So tell us a bit about the Oxford side as it stands at the moment. I mean, as Birmingham fans, we can resonate with, one of the players who, from a Birmingham perspective, I think, he did a job whilst he was there, may not have necessarily got all of the opportunities that were available in Dembele. So we know what to expect from him. But what else can we expect from Oxford? And like I say, where are your strengths and weaknesses at the moment?
If you'd have asked me this before Saturday, I said we're pretty strong at the back, and then we were anything but that against Hull. So from that hard to beat, we set up with a kind of defensive midfielder in front of a back four, occasionally play a back three and wing backs. We're a little bit hamstrung by injuries at the minute, so Rowett has tended to play a couple of wingers to try and play on the counter-attack a little bit. Unfortunately, the majority of our wingers are injured or just not effective. Dembele springs to mind. I think he's an incredibly frustrating player.
Blue, hot and cold at Birmingham. I'm guessing he's doing the same with yourselves.
And it's exactly the same. I'm still not sure if he's a winger or a number 10 or somewhere in between. So we attempt to build from having a solid base. Jamie Cumming, our keeper, we signed permanently in the summer after a loan spell from Chelsea. He's excellent at this level. Really good to tie him down longer term. And then probably the name maybe Birmingham fans won't know so much just because where we've been kind of in league terms over the past few seasons. But Cameron Brannigan in midfield's our kind of, I'd say, our star player. He's been with us for probably 7 or 8 seasons now. Signed from Liverpool, played a couple of times for Liverpool under Klopp actually, but he's a kind of all-action, energetic midfielder, scores a few goals, can take a free kick, normally on penalties. And then the kind of upcoming star, if you like, is a young lad called Tyler Goodrum, who's coming through our academy. He can play out wide, can play in the number 10, only scores spectacular goals. I think there was some stat the other week, he scored like 12 goals for the club and 11 of them have been from outside the box. So if he gets a shot on target, it often goes in.
That's what
Yeah. But I mean, given how we've been playing so far this season, that seems to be where we might score from. And then sadly, our kind of big summer signing, Brian de Keersmacher, who we signed from a Dutch club, but he is Belgian. He got injured in Indonesia in one of the games and hasn't made it onto the pitch yet. So we are, even though we're only 2 games in, we're kind of a little bit of short on numbers, particularly in key areas like central midfield. We signed a striker over the summer on loan from Cagliari, but he's not featured yet because he didn't have a pre-season with them. So it's been a very kind of slow, bitty start to the season. And there were some clear flaws against Hull. If you're talking about weaknesses, we got split open with ease at times, actually, quite worryingly. Scored our 2 goals from, I think one was off a corner, one was off a long throw. Long throws became a bit of a weapon at the back end of last season. We got a centre-back called Mikael Helik, who used to be at Barnsley, Huddersfield. and he's a goal scorer. I think he scored 5 goals between January and the end of last season. He just seems to be able to have the knack of getting on the end of a long throw or the second ball or the third ball or whatever it might be.
Yep.
But yeah, we're probably a squad of gritty players. There's a bit of talent in there. There's a bit of flair. But yeah, we still need to strengthen. And I think as I talked about already, we've seen the level in the league this year in terms of spending really step up. And we can only sit and kind of gasp at it, to be honest. We're not going to go and spend 5-6 million on a player. We have to kind of look at the bottom end of the market and loans. We're linked with a Liverpool midfielder at the minute on loan potentially before the weekend. But we do what we do. As I say, I think we'll set up to frustrate on Saturday. We'll set up to be hard to beat. We'll set up to try and get the St Andrews crowd kind of on your backs and see what happens. You never know.
Well, I think, we've seen in the past when Gary's come back to St Andrews that obviously being a defender himself, he tends to be a defensive setup, trying to nullify where he can across the park. And then, as we have seen again in the past, the tendency to try and get a breakaway goal. I mean, what I'm seeing so far from Birmingham, just in the first 2 league games and the League Cup game, is there is a never say die, we're not going to give in type of attitude, which we saw on Saturday against a stubborn Blackburn side, with them going 1-0 up and then us getting to the 89th minute thinking, God, this could be a first loss. Getting the penalty and Stano putting that away, the impetus completely swung. And actually, there were people that made a lot of money because they went and put a bet on Birmingham winning that game once that penalty had gone in. And obviously fair play to them. But it's that type of attitude and mentality, that winners mentality, that has built from last season and really has continued. And, we do have a phenomenal record at St Andrews at Manor Park. We went the whole of last season being unbeaten. We are unbeaten, fingers crossed, and touch wood, to this weekend coming, and then hopefully afterwards as well. But obviously, we'll come on to some predictions and things later. But I think what you can expect from the Birmingham side is a very front foot attacking setup from the outset. Strong defence. Be interesting to see whether Cochrane, who was injured at the weekend, will make the team on Saturday. But if not, what we saw in the second half at Ewood Park was Ethan Laird coming on, playing on the left, and Samuel then out on the right. So we still had a balance across the defending area. But I think our strengths at the moment are just an absolute phenomenal midfield, where we are just seeing, the through passes or the breakdown of opposition is key. And then, of course, we've got Stansfield, who is 3-3 as far as the season's concerned. But you take pre-season, we can go 4-4 there now, on a high after the Euros and the under-21s win, and somebody thriving on confidence. And like I say, the other thing is you cannot beat St Andrews when it's rocking. And at the moment, the fans are behind them. The sellouts are coming thick and fast, and it's brilliant to be around. So, I mean, are you joining us at St Andrews at Manor Park on Saturday?
Yeah, I'll be there. So I'm actually based in Derby, so the train strikes from cross country on Saturday are a bit of an issue given they're now running zero service. But luckily, National Express can get me there and back on Saturday. So I'll be, I'd like to say treating myself to a day out, but I think I'll be just turning up and hoping, really.
And have you been before?
I came to the League Cup game you mentioned at the top. That was my first time to St Andrews, to be fair. Quite enjoyed it for obvious reasons, but
indeed,
I'm looking forward to seeing it with obviously a capacity crowd in, because I think obviously a Tuesday night League Cup game didn't really get the kind of appetite flowing. 10 years ago?
I think we turned around the highest attendance of the first round of the Cup. It was a good following, really. Just over 16,000 being there for that particular game. obviously, the start of the season always tends to draw the lower audiences as far as the League Cup and that's concerned as well. And I think it always, as well, comes down to who you're playing. But also, contributing factor, it was on the TV. So, but yeah, it'd be absolutely bouncing, 27,000 plus there on Saturday. Big difference from the last time you played, not only with the size of the crowd, but actually in and around St Andrews at Knighthead Park as well. Phenomenal change over the past 2 years in the infrastructure, the way that we're set up, the way the fans are treated, and the new owners really have taken everything on board to help us expand. So I'm sure you will have a great day. And I think I would say, check out all the surrounding areas and things like that, the fan park, etc. That's all available. Have a good day, apart from the result. But we'll come on to that. So you mentioned that you were there the last time we played, and obviously you got the positive result. But also across the different teams, what we have seen is quite a raft of players really that have played for both clubs. Some names are friends of Tilton Talk, which we'll come on to shortly. Others, over the years have been phenomenal and stand out for both clubs. So, I'd ask, do you think you can name 5 players that have represented both clubs over the years? And of those, who for you would be the standout player?
I'll go for an easy one to begin with. Obviously, James Beadle, who I think sat on your bench for league games at least, but he had a very good half-season loan with us 2 years ago. League One season, the year we got promoted, but he got recalled in the January.
Indeed.
You could tell he was going to go on to a higher level. I don't know quite how high. He's interested that he's been loaned out again by Brighton. So, he's one. Beadle. More recent,
I am going to be cruel, actually. I can't let you have Dembele because we've already mentioned it.
No, that's fine.
I've got to strike that one off.
No, I was talking with my dad at the weekend. We had Super Kev up front for a season, Kevin Francis.
Friend of Tilton Talk, an absolute legend of a player. But not just that, the biggest Blues fan you could ever want to speak to. And in fact, we were in conversation with him last season ahead of the Wembley visit, which was absolutely awesome to hear from him on.
Yeah, I remember it must have been maybe 8 or 9 when he signed for us, but I just remember being amazed that someone so tall could play football to quite a decent standard. So
and strike a ball as well as what he could. Everybody thinks he was a header of the ball, but no, he had a phenomenal.
No, he could do a lot more. Yeah. More recent. So not allowed Dembele. Okay. We had Josh McEachran. So we let him go in the summer, but I think he had time with you maybe 4 or 5 seasons ago, perhaps.
Indeed,
he's someone that, and again, he's in Oxford. Talking about Des Buckingham earlier. McEachran, an Oxford born. It's quite nice that he kind of came back to the club towards the back end of his career. I think he's dropped down to Bristol Rovers now. Who else have we had?
It's interesting whilst you're thinking there, because the 3 that you've had is also a mixture of the years between the clubs.
Yeah.
So it's now, I know you're not just dwelling on the most recent ones. I can give you a few hints. You've had the left backs from us. You've had a goalkeeper from us most recently. You had a centre forward back in 2016, 2017 that played for Birmingham and joined you on a free transfer.
16. That'll be Wes Thomas.
Wes Thomas, indeed.
Yeah, he. Depending who you talk to, conflicting reports on him with Oxford. I think he had an all right season actually, but off the back of our promotion season, there was a lot of pressure on that team in 16-17. It never quite delivered. I think he'll always be remembered for being in that kind of failing to deliver pot.
Mm-hmm.
Goalkeeper.
Yeah. 21-22.
Like one appearance, Connell Truman.
Connell Truman, yeah, that's a great piece of knowledge. That is the fact that he was actually an emergency transfer for you.
Yeah, I'm quite good on keepers. I forgot. Yeah, was that 5?
It
We're
is,
struggling
but
now.
I mean, to go through some of the other names. So left back that I mentioned also in the 21-22 season was Steve Seddon.
Oh yeah.
Um,
No, he flattered to deceive as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Central midfielder in 2014-15 in Brian Howard. Again,
Yeah.
didn't really have too much opportunity at Birmingham. You also saw central midfielders. Seems to be a bit of a trend here with you having central midfielders from Birmingham, but
Well, we could do with one this season if you've got any going Spurs. So.
there might be in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Eddie Newton
Oh
was
yeah.
99 into 2000. Absolute legend, not only of the fans, but he's a fan and has been a guest of Tilton Talking. Paul Tate,
Yeah.
what a guy, and actually tells us the funniest story ever of when he signed for Oxford and the prank that was played on him as kind of like his initiation to your club. And it doesn't matter how many times you hear it, it is so funny. You've mentioned Kevin Francis, Darren Purse. I mean, what a legend he was for you, and actually signed for Birmingham from yourselves. Wayne Dyer, Trevor Aylott, other players, and going back over the years now, John Truick, Dave Langham, Les Phillips, Nigel Winterburn, Neil Watmore, Malcolm Page. Malcolm is actually one of the key people involved in the ex-Birmingham City Players Association. Still see him down at the ground and again, friend of Tilton Talk. And then finally, the oldest one I could see back in 67, 68 was a centre forward called Mickey Bullock. So over the years, plenty of players have crossed the divide, either permanently or on loan. So, right, so we get to that time of the show where I ask you, what does your head say and what does your heart say the result will be on Saturday? And if you say you're going to score, I'm interested in your goal scorer's prediction.
Well, given you've just bigged up how good your midfield is, and ours is less so considering everyone's injured. I'm not very hopeful at all. I think most Oxford fans are in the same boat that this is one of the games that maybe we wanted this earlier on in the season in case you hadn't quite clicked and gelled, but the results thus far suggest you probably have, and a winning mentality obviously from last season. I think it's going to be a struggle. I really do. I think we'll come to try and frustrate, but I can't see anything beyond a Birmingham win, to be honest, and probably by a couple of goals. But we do have a habit of creating chances from kind of set pieces and just lobbing the ball in there, long throws, etc. So I think we might nick one, maybe consolation. I'll say 3-1 Birmingham. And I'll say Hellick because, as I say, he's got a habit of getting on the end of a set piece. So bit of a magnet to the ball. But I haven't looked at the odds yet, but I imagine the bookies have Birmingham as very, very, very hot favourites.
I know when I
that's
looked
for a reason.
last, yes, it was. But you never change things and can look at it any different. And just looking at the odds now, Birmingham 4-9 to win, obviously. Draw at 16-5. You can have a 6-1 on Oxford winning the game if you want to.
I mean, I think we won twice away from home last year. The first one didn't come until New Year's Day. So add in the fact we're not very good away from home, I fully understand those odds.
Well, we've done our live show this week, and at the end of that, we have to make predictions. I actually did say that I think Birmingham will take a 4-1 win at the weekend. I think it's going to be actually quite similar to what you said there. I think you will nick a goal. Could see it coming pretty late on, but I just think Stansfield is on fire at the moment. The midfield is looking great. Kyojo has got his first goal at St Andrews in the League Cup. And, I think he is one of these players that when he's given the opportunity, he's only got one way, and that is straight at goal. So I could actually see him bagging a goal or two at the weekend. And I think we'll see some from Stansfield as well. The midfield is going to be the key. We have such a strong midfield at the moment, and if we can break things down and get hold of the game nice and early, then I think it'll be a comfortable win for Birmingham. However, we always say it, we have this tendency to play teams that are struggling and struggle ourselves. Let's hope that that's not the case on Saturday. And I'm sure Chrissy Davies won't have them set up that way, put it that way.
We did relish the kind of teams like Oxford kind of views of some fans last year, just expected to walk all over us because we're Oxford United. So I'd love to think that we could be tweeting teams like Oxford when there's Birmingham fans kind of kicking off on Twitter on Saturday. But given where we're at and the strengths of your midfield and forward line and the relative weakness of ours, I'm not even can't get to that optimism, I'm afraid.
Well, all I can say is, Jack, thank you first of all for joining us on the away end. We really do wish you all the very best as the season progresses. We will do this again when we play yourselves down at the Oxford Stadium later on in the season. And hopefully, you're in a much better position and things have turned around. Really looking forward to the game, as we haven't played each other for such a while. So it is going to be a good one on Saturday. Like I say, fans well and truly up for it. Watch out for the fireworks. And I don't just mean on the pitch. There will be some before the game. And it's going to be fun. So thank you very much for joining me on the away end, which is sponsored by AMG Logistics and in association with the Birmingham City official supporters clubs. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Have a great game rest of the season, but not a good game on Saturday. And I'll sign off by saying, keep right on.